Yesterday, I reacted to Arcane Season 2 teaser trailer that was just posted, and as all reactions, it was a bit chaotic. Like, I didn't catch all the stuff that it was there. I'm sure no one did really at that point. Ever since then, I've been sort of wondering about that trailer. I've been checking it out. I've been discussing most of all with some of my friends on Discord, some of my channel friends, and that's why I think we have to take another look at that trailer in a more in-depth way. I will be going back to it again because I'll be working on some videos that will be a bit longer when it comes to what we know so far and what to expect based on every single detail that we were given so far. But for now, I want to just focus on the trailer and some very interesting details that we have found, sort of collectively speaking. Couldn't really take credit for all of that because we've been discussing that brainwashing. I think you might like some of them. So let's dive right into it. At this point, I think collectively as a fandom, we agree that what we saw in that teaser, that trailer, and the tiny preview that Netflix showed, it's not really the essence of the entire season. They're going to mislead us. They're going to give us hints. They're going to direct us in certain areas, not where we're heading. I think what we saw so far is basically pretty early on in season 2. Events that will happen directly after season 1. There will be no big time jump, so I think we can scratch off that theory that we saw Ren in the video, the Netflix short video, just because it's the hair color, because she's still a kid, obviously, at this point. What the new trailer seems to suggest is that the whole Caitlyn-Vi Jinx thing will be the final battle, you know, the end game, that by the end of possibly season 2, final season, we'll actually see Vi confronting Jinx and Caitlyn will intervene. That's where they're trying to take us with the story, with Caitlyn aiming with her new Hextech powered weapon. I don't think we're heading there at all. Maybe if this would be season 2 and then we could expect season 3, then perhaps I'll be more on board. But since this is the final season, then we need to do some stuff in order to get to other stuff. Like I pointed out in my reaction, we don't really see much of Warwick, despite the fact that we know that he's going to be a major part of this new season. So there are bigger fish to fry, and in order to get there, we first need to clear the whole Caitlyn-Vi Jinx situation going on, which will be our direct problem, which will require our attention immediately. When we lock down that plot, then we can move on, perhaps in Act 2, to Warwick Vander. And only then, once we have dealt with that, whatever that means, we can focus on the biggest fish that's there, which is Ambessa Medada and her threat to entire Piltover, because she's after Hextech. She wants to weaponize it, use it as a weapon. And if Arcane finishes on such note, then there's a good chance that we will move on to Noxus, where she's from. We know that Kristen Link mentioned new shows to come, new movies. We'll be circling around Runeterra. There are fantastic areas, very interesting areas around. We have Ionia, we have Noxus, we have Targon, which would be my personal favorite for reasons. That's why I'm more than certain that we will finish season 2 with more or less the thing that they announced before, so war. Bigger one than Caitlyn and some enforcers going down to the streets of Zone after Jinx. If you have a look at the trailer, there are Jinx wanted posters all over. And depending on how they finish season 2, final season, then we'll have a major hint as to where we are heading next, which will be anyway announced in possibly December, they said, by the end of this year. So let's say we finish season 2 with some big Noxus revelation, with some big Noxus antagonists coming over, then we'll have a hint as to what's to come, because I think some characters in such case could be reused easily. So Zone Attack will happen straight after season 1 ending and early on in season 2. Zone Attack led by Caitlyn, followed by Vi. I saw some people getting upset that Vi joins the enforcers. Now I'm gonna drop some League of Legends spoilers, maybe not spoilers because now Arcane is canon, so really I feel like I'm cleared when it comes to what's going to happen and who's going to be who, because we're in a different game right now that League of Legends lore is no longer canon and Arcane has been sort of canonized. That sounded sort of Christian. Whether it was a mistake or not, the trailer in German dubbing version sort of gave away a major thing. So you might want to stay clear of the next 30 seconds or so, because I'm going to say it right now. In the German dubbing version, what Ambessa Medada says is that half of the council is gone, we are going to avenge your mother. So in the original language trailer, what we heard was that the council is gone. And it sounded metaphorically, you know, like the body, because obviously there was an attack and like maybe some casualties. But in the German version, they use dubbing, and that dubbing will be used in the actual show. That's what the translator chose to do, judging on the story, which means that I'm guessing there's 80% chance that it's actually true that half of the council is gone, and you know who is gone. So assuming that Cassandra Kureman is actually gone, that means that Caitlyn, who's very angry in the trailer, will go after revenge. She lost a parent. She's gonna go after revenge. She's gonna go after Jinx. Vi feeling guilty, but also I think morally speaking, she also feels that she's on the right side in that situation. She's gonna join the Enforcers. And going back to what I said before, there's a lot of people judging her, saying that she shouldn't join the Enforcers, that Enforcers killed her parents and whatnot. But pay attention, like the entire season 1 was her story from the bottom to the top, from Zone to Piltover. The League of Legends canon sets her in the position of Enforcer. She's still more of a rogue one, like she plays by her own rules. Many voice lines sort of suggest that, you know, she does what she wants anyway. But she's an Enforcer, and that's the fact. She's an Enforcer because surely Caitlyn will want her to join her. Now, will it be easy? Will this be black and white? No way, this is Arcane, and nothing ever is. Let's not forget that the Enforcers are what we make them. If Caitlyn is in charge, if Jace is in charge, if the council, partially gone, decides to rethink things, then Enforcers will be acting differently. They're not some sort of a body that's acting on its own. They're following orders coming from the top. We know that Heimerdinger and Echo will be sort of working together in season 2, although we didn't see much of that in that trailer, but we know that based on season 1's ending. They will surely rethink things. They noticed that the disproportions between up and down are way too big to just leave that be. Obviously, we're at war right now. But Caitlyn will not be the only person who lost a parent and who's after revenge and who's gonna go distances to actually act. Jinx lost a parent too, Silco. As much as she's blaming herself, she's gonna blame Caitlyn, she's gonna blame Vi, she's gonna blame entire Piltover. Now, we've been wondering who's gonna take over Silco, and all this time the answer to that has been pretty clear. Jinx will. She was his daughter, so, you know, if we wanna follow a direct line of succession. Obviously, I'm joking because they wouldn't really agree to that, the camp barons, to just let her be because she was Silco's daughter. She's gonna convince the camp barons to join her. And how will she do that? With Sevika's support. Now, in one of the shots, we saw that Sevika has a new arm, and it definitely looks like Jinx's design. We remember from season 1 that Sevika wasn't the biggest fan of Jinx, to say the least. In one of the trailer shots, you can also see Sevika holding a gun resembling the one that Jinx was using in the very last scene when Silco died, which is pretty metaphorical, to say the least. Using the gun that was present when Silco died for revenge. Now, why did she change her mind? I think we will find out based on one of the flashbacks, because recently Sevika's voice actress posted this photo that she was back in the studio recording. I think she shared just a picture, and in the back we saw a photo of young Sevika. So we'll finally find out why Sevika joined Silco, why she was so faithful to him, protecting him from camp barons. And I think Jinx will use her support. It's very cool that we'll find out the backstory when it comes to Sevika, because so far she was possibly the only pretty one-dimensional character in season 1 who didn't really have a proper backstory. We didn't know who she is really, why she's the way she is. That's why I think Sevika flashback in this part of the season will introduce us to her reasons. Based on these, maybe based on shared grief, Sevika and Jinx will join forces. Sevika will help Jinx to convince the camp barons that they have to act together. More than that, it seems like Jinx will be pretty much a populist in season 2. There's this painting of her with this flag. I cannot help but think of this other painting that presents French Revolution. That's why I think that what Jinx will do, she will sort of call this fighting for a cause. Fighting for their cause, but obviously we know that the means that she's using, murder, stealing, these are not the right means to fight for freedom, for fight for a good political cause. She's more of a terrorist than a politician, right? Having said that, that's the way that she's going to present herself, like any good populist would. In that painting, there's also a very interesting detail in the back that my friend Ingo noticed. There seems to be a Lunari symbol. Lunari is this nation coming from Targon, another area in Runeterra, who's been sort of oppressed by Solari. Solari the other nation, representing sun, and then them representing the moon. They sort of oppressed them. There was a genocide going on. I don't want to get into that. You can find any Necrit video about that. But I think what it could mean is that the Lunari were also oppressed. So she's suggesting that they've been oppressed. She's suggesting that they're fighting for air. At one point in the trailer, you can also see Jaina. She is this goddess of fresh air, of wind. Some Zonites still believe in. Recently, I did some videos on exploring regions based on Legends of Runeterra game card, art and voice lines. I have explored the crap out of Piltover and Zon, so if you want to know more about these areas, then I recommend checking it out. But basically, in one of the Zon videos, I mentioned that Jaina, that you can see right there, is sort of a goddess that Zonites still believe, and she represents fresh air, so it all makes sense for this particular shot of the trailer. Now, I also wanted to add, though this is unrelated, that the way Sevika will take care of Jinx sort of reminds me of how Snape was taking care of Harry for the sake of his mother, and now Sevika will be probably doing it for the sake of Silco. Another shot that suggests that Jinx will control the camp barons is that one where one of them runs, and in the back you can actually see Jinx. When it comes to the whole camp barons situation, there's this shot of a sculpture. There's been so many theories going on when it comes to who's dead. People think that that might be Oriana, who's been a fan favorite that everyone expects or was expecting in season 2. That maybe it was Karina, which would make a lot of sense because of the plant thing going on. And also the fact that Caitlyn and the League of Legends lore was going after Karina, who she was naming C. But that was my friend's Beastmonger theory. He found it, and I think he's right, because if you look at it, this has to be one of the camp barons called Margot. The resemblance is striking. Not only the hair is very similar, but there's also these particular 4 black dots on her forehead. So I think it's safe to say that it's her. By the end of Act 1, maybe early on in Act 2, the situation with Jinx, Caitlyn and Vi will somehow resolve. Now, I still think that champions are safe, so despite the fact that the trailers seem to suggest that someone will die, either Caitlyn or Vi or Jinx, as my friend pointed out, because now Arcane is canon, these champions cannot really die because they are alive in League of Legends, right? Which means that there will be some other resolution to this situation, possibly one where we actually arrest Jinx. And not only that, at this point I think Vi and Caitlyn might grow apart. Again, if we were to expect season 3, then I would be saying that all of that would be happening by the end of season 2. I strongly believe that Caitlyn and Vi will get together and that they will both be alive by the end of the final season, precisely because it's the final season. I think the part of the story that we will hate, that they announced on Reddit when they were discussing Arcane, this has to happen around this area. It might happen for many reasons. Maybe Vi will somehow protect Jinx. Maybe Caitlyn's grudge when it comes to her mother's death will be too strong. At this point, they will somehow grow apart. They're misleading us that what is happening in the trailer is the end goal and end game. I think it's far from it. Now, second part of the season will introduce Warwick. If you have a look at the trailer, Warwick shows up with this red light. There's some sort of fumes around. No other shot in that trailer shows such scenario, except for a moment when we see a hand commanding to take a shot, which might be a bit of Warwick hunt, which means that everything that we see already happened at this point, and now Warwick shows up. Again, as we know, it could be Vander, and that means that the sisters might somehow get together again. My friend Ingo had a theory that maybe if Jinx is arrested by the end of Act 1 or at some point around that time, then maybe Vi or both Vi and Caitlyn will let Jinx go to somehow stop him. And the final part of the season will focus on war. Lady Medada, she's been whispering in Caitlyn's ear. She's been trying to use her moment of weakness after the potential death of her mother, knowing that she can also influence Jace, and maybe Jace can be influenced because he'll be also very angry, right? Notice that we haven't actually seen Victor in the trailer, but we have. The thing is, we have. If you want to think of the League of Legends version of him, then there's a shot that shows him, which means they sort of stayed away from that part of the story. Jace, Victor, how Caitlyn is connected to all of that, how Medada is trying to play them in order to achieve her goal, as she does. Lady Medada's main objective is war, is getting Hextech, to weaponize it, to use it in Noxus because she said she has a big enemy. I actually discussed that in one of the videos that I recorded about Lady Madada because she's about to become a champion in League of Legends, which means that her role in Season 2, the final season, will be prominent. I keep calling it Season 2, but I might as well just call it final season. Her role in the final season will be prominent. Her trying to infiltrate the structure of Piltover to sort of get her hands on the power that it holds, to use it against whom? Like I mentioned before, there are some champions in Noxus that could be just that, and my best guess would be that it would be Swain, a powerful general from Noxus. Now, there's this very interesting shot. It seems like in one of the shots presents soldiers wearing a Trifarian Legion sign. Now, Trifarian Legion is one of the most elite units in Noxus, maybe entire Runeterra. And they're usually led by their general, Darius, who's actually one of the tri-power of Noxus, so Darius and Swain and another person. Again, I discussed that more in depth in the Madada video, so if you want to know more about Swain and why I think we might see him, for example, by the end of the season. Another argument pro Noxus intervention is the fact that we actually see Zinch arrested. If he will be captured, then it makes every bit of sense to have him sent down to Noxus because in the lore, he's actually working for Noxus creating dangerous weapons. So it would make perfect sense if Lady Madada decided to bring in the big guns, infiltrate Piltover that way to take over Hextech, because at this point we'll be handling the bigger problems, the big politics problems. If she brought the big guns, then furthermore suggests that soon we'll be heading to Noxus in a new show that maybe they're working on already. Other small stuff that you might have noticed in the trailer or perhaps you might have missed. If you have a look at Vi, she's obviously wearing Clagger's glasses. Clagger who died, so it feels like she's after revenge. To me, it validates the fact that she always felt that Powder was just a little bit guilty. She was trying to justify her at the time, but still, right now, it's like she's also after some sort of revenge after her friends that died back then, who never got a proper farewell. And finally, another detail, when Jinx and Vi confront, there are paintings that Jinx did all around the room. And at one of the paintings, you can actually see Vander holding tiny baby Powder and Vi. So we're going back all the way to season 1, first scene. Alright, well, that's about it for now. That's some of the small stuff that I noticed or some of my friends noticed, and we have been discussing that. I'll be making more videos and covering Arcane up until it's released, so do stick around, please. You can join my Discord where we're discussing. You can follow me on Instagram because I'm also posting some short videos there. But anyway, if there's anything interesting that you noticed, I'll be looking forward to reading your comments, as I always do. Thank you so much for watching. I know there's plenty of theories out there, so I appreciate it if you showed up to watch this one. Stay safe, guys. Bye!